What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Smashing Pumpkins, and I was indeed able to find a copy of Gish online. So we're jumping back to 1991, and we're going to go through this album. And the first track on the record is I Am One. So it's a phrase that is, of course, very general, and yet it speaks to being a unitary entity, meaning not being divided, not being spread out, but being whole and being singular. Now, of course, it can be in contrast to the many, the idea that, like, I am one and there are many others, and perhaps, there could be a dynamic between the one and the many. But yeah, it sounds more like it's a statement about one's self being singular and thus, like, discrete and not fragmented, not separated or divided. So yeah, we'll see what it is in practice. This is Smashing Pumpkins. The song is I Am One, and it's the opening tune on their 1991 album Gish. sonically, that's brilliant. Lyrically, I did not catch a lot of that there. I was intrigued by that opening, like, I'm one, you're three, which, I wondered, it could be like a designation, one and two and so on, but one and three was an odd juxtaposition. And again, I didn't catch a whole lot after that, so I don't quite know, if there's insight to be had there, but I do look forward to any comments people will have. And part of me not catching things was Billy's voice. It was a bit like echoed and not buried, but it was sort of like surrounded by the like genuinely hard rock sonics. And again, it's like, it was a harder, edgier sound than a lot of what we heard on Adore. And, maybe not quite as hard as some of the stuff on Melancholy. Although Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, again, it's got like tracks on both ends of the intense and soft spectrum and, just a lot of sonic variety. All a masterpiece, of course. And the vibe here, again, was mostly like hard rock, but it had a bit of like alternative rock, a bit of like blues rock flavor, so like somewhere in the nexus or Venn diagram of those three stylings, though mostly I would call this hard rock, and definitely like very identifiably Smashing Pumpkins guitars, like something about the distorted guitar, just something about the sound of their guitar work. It is very easily identifiable, and I enjoy it's not just that deep heavy guitar work, but there's stuff very high and like intense and some riffing along the way. So yeah, very compelling in that regard. And yeah, I just enjoy the vibe of the tune, and as I said, I do look forward to any insights people have thematically. It is one that I will re-listen to, and of course, again, as I often say, I do listen to songs in my headphones after I do this. But I was very pleased a couple days ago. Someone commented that they were like, you know what, I actually like that you listen to songs in room sound, because it's, number one, it makes like the videos a bit more intimate, like we're there in the room with you, and then secondarily, there's an old school quality to it. So yes, it's imperfect, but I do appreciate those who understand that, like, I do this here for the reactions, but then I do listen in headphones. And when I do re-listen to this song, I will try to catch more of the lyrics, and again, eventually I will, read them online if I can't figure them out, or if, there's not some notable insight here in the comments. Long story short, I'm looking forward to another Smashing Pumpkins album, and especially because, again, we've done this a bit out of order, I'm keen to hear what they were doing at the beginning of the 90s, even though we've, like, gone up to the end of the 90s in the other direction. So, anyway, let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.